meeting to order. Commissioner Malinbecker, could you provide us with an invitation?
Yeah, sure. Shall we pray? Heavenly Father, we thank you. We thank you for the blessings that you have bestowed upon us. We thank you for giving us good health. Lord, as we assemble here this afternoon, we ask for your blessings to be upon us. We ask for you to provide the wisdom that's needed to make the decisions that benefits the citizens of Jackson. We ask that you bless all the families, and we ask that you bless the city of Jackson. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Move on to the minutes. I believe those were from the previous special.
Just says no sound recorded.
Okay. Now on to the approval of the minutes.
Can you hear us okay, Commissioner Lee?
I don't think you can, because he ain't responded.
Jonathan Lee, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Here we go. Good.
Do you have any questions on the previous minutes or any changes?
There were actually two. There's one from the meeting and then one from the special meeting we did by telephone about 2 weeks later.
There are two sets of minutes.
That was a minute from the
Okay.
regular February meeting. Was it February? Yeah. And then we had a special meeting to deal with approving the change order streets that we did. I was on the telephone, I think it was on Zoom, I don't know what everybody else did.
Do we need to handle those separately, or can we
I think
put
it's,
those all in the same?
you could do it in one motion. It's just the regular meeting and the special.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes from February and the special?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, moving right along. Financial update.
Wait.
Oh,
You're operating from them, I believe, the packet was sent out for the meeting that we didn't have.
it's actually the
So
same.
you're going to go with that? Well, no, it's not.
That's not the same one?
Well, that's not the same as what's in the packet.
Yeah. No, it is. Financial update?
The project updates is different.
Yes, that's
The
where.
project updates is different from that. Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Commissioner Malinbecker?
Yes, I just want to get some clarity. We're operating off of the April slide sheet, right?
Right.
Okay.
Well, we are at this point.
Right. Yeah, so I'll give the updates from the report that was circulated for the meeting that was scheduled for last month. For Fund 157, the net obligations previously reported 35.2. We have been doing some work on reconciling the accounts, and Commissioner Perry and I have had a couple meetings where we're comparing the notes so that we can be in a position to do the obligation work for Fund 157. And in doing the research, what I had recorded as obligated was $34.8 million. The life-to-date revenues and interest were at $39 million, and the expenses to date were at $33.9 million for Fund 157. Then
Can we talk about that one for a second?
yeah, well, I can just clear 173 and then we can.
Well, let's do them one at a time.
Okay, we'll do, yes.
Yeah. But like you said, we've been talking, comparing notes. My records of obligations, we're a bunch over there. We're at like 36 million. But, which caused me a little concern for a while that we'd over obligated what we had. But because of a couple of reasons, we have not spent that much, so we're still under the amount that could be spent, because part of that was an over obligation on Riverside Drive, I believe.
Yeah.
best we could tell from our comparing notes, we've got roughly $800,000-900,000 of available spendable money in that account. To still leave in there the amount that we need for the bond obligation, and in talking about planning for it, about how to get rid of it, we want it all to go into one project. If we come up with Woodrow Wilson 1 being ready to go anytime in the next week, or month or two, my thought, Dallas, we shared this and I'm mad, that the best way to clean that out might be to spend whatever we got available there and put the rest of it coming out of 173 and get all of that 900, might turn out to be $1 million, might turn out to be $800,000 out of there.
Yeah.
All right, that's all.
Okay, all right. And then for Fund 173, our net obligations reported there were at $169.9 million. Revenues plus interest at 165.8, expenses at 131.9, and some encumbrances of $3.7 million. But obviously that will be all cleaned up through the work that we have been doing with Commissioner Perry and myself. Okay. Any questions?
Just as an update, I've spent the last 3 weeks going back cleaning up my records of obligations and comparing it to the minutes, starting from day one, and have created what I think within a day or two I could even share. You know, in the absolute, here's what we obligated. One thing I did was, tell Jeff a while ago, for those of you that have been around a long time, and that might be only you, Michael, Jonathan maybe, years ago we obligated $1 million for the Robinson Road Bridge, but it was an 80-20 project. It was on the obligation list at $1 million, but technically we were only obligating $200,000 because, and it ended up costing $900,000, and so it comes down. But I cleaned it up by taking that $1 million off and putting $200,000. Same thing with the engineering on the Tiger grants and some other things. I brought it down to what the percentage would be. So when I get that document shared, if nothing else will have about the May meeting, you know, that's one of the big changes that's in it, is taking out those obligations that were subject to a cost share. From that, I'm hoping that we can have by the May meeting at least a cleanup of everything from like day one beginning until 2020, and unobligate $122,000 for the John R. Lynch project, which was on our very first one back in May of 2016. We never spent a penny out of it. You know, and even when we cleaned up the old obligations, it didn't come out. Some of those old obligations were cleaned up were in error. One of the things that's going to go along with that, though, is there's a lot we can take out where we got obligated money we can get out. There's some cases where the city has spent more, a couple of places substantially more than what we obligated. So when we look at that list, some talk's going to be having to deal with. The easy part is de-obligating the things that's, the projects are finished and money's left over. The hard thing is going to be dealing with the ones where it's overspent.
And Pete, that's all out of 173
That's, well, it's true
on both?
it's true on both, but the 157 is easy and clean. There's some money we can de-obligate on 157. There's not really any overspending on 157, but there's some money to be de-obligated on 157. And it's easy and clean too, because all those projects are through.
Right.
Yeah, we can de-obligate where the project's through and everything's been paid and been spent.
And Fund 173 is where the tax revenue primarily gets deposited?
Yeah.
That's where it comes into?
Right.
That's the only place it gets into,
Okay.
that primarily.
And then 157 was?
That was where the
bond?
$40 million of bond money went
Okay.
in.
All right, all right.
And in talking with Dallas, I learned we have another account besides 420, we've got 421, which actually doesn't spend our money, but it spends money related to our projects, and trying to look at those, which is where MPO type projects go.
Bridges, 421.
421 is ERB.
Yeah,
421, but the 420 is MPO.
right, yeah.
And so it's not spending our money, but we gotta be able to look at what's in there and been spent to compare it to the rest of the project, so we'll know what the total amount spent on the project was.
So just, I know we have talked about this in the past, but like, let's say all the work is done, you guys, everybody agrees on the numbers. Does net obligations ultimately go to expenses plus encumbrances, and those should be then the same number? Because there's about $30 million difference in those two, and
Yes. If everything's cleaned up
okay.
and we had a perfect accounting system, the expenses plus encumbrances ought to equal obligations.
So the obligation, are you anticipating de-obligating plus or minus $30 million over the
No.
life of this fund? Or like, how do those numbers end up getting reconciled, I guess, at this point? To
No,
figure out, because
no.
I look at this and I say, oh, we're overspent.
No, I think it's more like $10 million.
Okay.
Because I think, that's the net obligations you're showing here
Mhm.
includes every year's worth of bond payment.
Correct, yeah,
Because it also, every year, also shows up in the expenses column.
right, yeah.
If you take out, the bond payments, which would be about 5 years worth,
Yeah, so
20 million.
2019, right,
Yeah.
yeah,
Right now, the list on obligations is 135 million, add 20 million to it's 155, so there's 10 to 15 million dollars of,
So there's a big chunk that's almost double counted because it's a bond payment.
well, no,
It's
no,
also-
there's a big chunk that's obligated. We obligated $1 million, we spent $800,000, we got $200,000 left.
Hmm, okay.
And so we got a whole bunches of $58 and $285,000 or whatever's left to be able to go through there.
Okay.
The obligations is not a financial number, that's an
Yeah,
overall.
yeah.
Any other questions? And again, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank Commissioner Perry for his work, right? As he and I have been doing some of this work, some of the email exchanges, right, that come in late at night. I've seen one at 3 a.m., so I'd like to appreciate his support and the institutional knowledge, right, to clean up a lot of these accounts. We've had to rely on him.
What is the chance of us getting these charges put back in our account that were wrong charges?
So I saw the email today, right? So let me kind of
Okay.
look at that plan and then I'll share some thoughts.
Those were, I think everybody else was copied on, those were charges that weren't our projects. You know, and they didn't charge against them. I mean, it's purely an accounting issue, and they put the wrong code number on it, did they?
Yeah.
Some of them we've known about for a long while.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Fidelis. Do I need a motion for that?
No.
Would like to switch gears here and ask you, Matt, to give us a presentation of potential future projects. And I can let you, Matt, and Commissioner Perry explain some of the work they've done recently.
Well, I'm sure you can't see any of this, but you have a copy of the sheet over here, and this is,
You can see that.
you can see a lot better than
Yes.
what you
Got a better
what you have on the
chance.
screen, absolutely. So let me just kind of back up and kind of tell you what our mandate is, what we've been doing over the last 9 months since we started. When we started, I guess really we had 29 projects that were listed on the PowerPoint presentation. Our mandate was to make sure that we get those projects completed, that we, if there are required negotiation with contractors, with engineers, that we actually finalize the negotiation, respond to them so that best we can get to the design and construction stage for many of those projects. So I want to say we have good news and bad news. The good news is actually we've moved a lot of projects. So out of the 29 projects, we had 4 projects that were languishing in the closeout process, and MDOT was actually threatening us with losing funding there. We got all of those closed and cleaned up. We have currently 3 projects, active projects that are either finishing up construction or about to start construction, started construction, which is resurfacing 1A, 1B, and 1C. So the 1A is going to be finished probably in the next 30 days, and then 1B and 1C just started. And of course, we added the change order that the commission approved a couple of months ago, which has extended the time frame for completion. So one of those projects will be completed October 26th, and the other one is in December 26th because of that adjustment.
It added a year's worth of time to both of them.
It added,
It added a year because it was supposed to be November of this year. Let's call it 11 months. I'm gonna round that off to a year. That change order added a year.
that's what Neil Schaefer and the contractor negotiated.
The city didn't have a say-so in that?
Well, actually, they've already decided on this before we actually learned about it, but this is where we are
Well, the
today.
city, Neil Schaefer cannot sign off on a change order to add a year.
Well, they haven't signed on the change order, but they already agreed with the contractor on the time frame. So it's very difficult to undo it once it's done. But again, Neil Schaefer is not here today. I would love for them to actually explain that. But this is where we are right now. Actually, the change order was signed. It's December 10th.
All right, my question is, we added less than what was there before. And it's gonna take longer for what we added. If we had 10 in there before and we added 8, the 10 was gonna take less than a year, now the 18 is gonna take a year and a half.
You added $8 million worth of work.
I know.
So how are you saying you added less than what you had before? The net is an increase of $8 million worth of work.
Move on.
Can I ask you just a real quick question on 1A? That's supposed to be, when did y'all say that was supposed to be finished?
They had an error in the number of days. The actual amount was supposed to be May 30th. So we allowed them 45 days because of that error. They requested actually 90 days, which we actually rejected.
It's supposed to be the next month.
Okay.
So it's
They just
supposed
got
to
half a Pinehurst paving, and I can't figure out where they went.
But I was gonna ask about that. That's a Chad Toth, little Schaefer question. It's half of Pinehurst, it's a little spot over on Quinn, another spot at the end of Quinn, another spot over on Whitworth, where Pinehurst is waiting for the city to fix a storm drain that's collapsed. That
whole strip.
that whole strip, they repaired one little spot, but they got another spot. Quinn, there's a sinkhole on it. I don't know what is causing the sinkhole. And at the end of Quinn, where it runs into Moody, there's a little spot that's not paved, and then there's another spot somewhere else that's not paved. And I assume they're all waiting on the city. And I saw today where the Bellhaven Association sent an email to Chad and to probably y'all asking about what the status on those was. I don't know what the status is.
So Neil Schaefer is coordinating with both the contractor and the city stormwater division to try to make sure that this is done on a timely basis.
And so then,
So basically what we told the contractor that come May 30th, if they're not finished, the city, well, at least we recommend that they actually discharge liquidated damages for their part. Now, the CE&I portion, they have enough funds to actually carry them through the end of May. If it extends beyond the end of May, obviously some of the liquidated damages can pay for the CE&I for engineering work as well.
One more question, 1A. Would you relate to Chad about the manhole covers and water valve covers? They started working on, they raised some of them. I saw them out with a trailer that had like 25 rings in it, and they were working on one right there at Hazel and Papa, and they fixed that one another, but there's still a bunch that they hadn't fixed. So And Chance told us before that he knows it's on the list, they need to be done, but just while they're in this other part. They evidently had to order a bunch of rings, but they had a trailer full of them when I saw them out there working, so.
So I guess the projects, I was just using this as an example, we have 3 that are ongoing in construction, which kind of leave 19 projects. And I would say that probably about 60–70% of those projects are actually, the design is either complete, they are, some of the projects were bid or about to be bid. And then the rest of them, probably the design will be complete in the next few months. So here's where the side that is the bad news is that we're going to have projects that are going to be ready because we've been pushing the consultants, which comes to the issue of does the commission, the city have the resources to actually do all those projects. I don't know what the answer to this, but that's really why we are putting this spreadsheet together, to give you enough information to be able to make the decisions that need to be made. And some of those projects that you will see on the list that are highlighted in yellow, these are areas that I would, after we go through all the projects, I'd like to consider some authorization to move forward with those projects, because some of them are actually bid, and the delay could cause some problems, and that's part of the reason we're actually requesting this special meeting as well. So another thing that also going to tying it to the financial areas, and I know historically the way that the commission has worked is that you authorize based on what available funds you have. These projects are, some of them a year, some of them multi-year projects. So I was thinking maybe over different areas, and I'm not ready to present this to you today, but I just want to plant the seed for discussion maybe in the next meeting. Whether we need to consider to actually get all the projects moving, or the majority of them, do we consider a cash flow model where we actually look at what the available cash, what are the obligations that are, some of this cash is tied to the remaining amount, and then you project every month of what income is coming, what expenses are going out, and you basically do for every project the cash flow projections based on the schedule of the project, and then see whether you actually have the capacity to do this. That's one option. The second option is maybe look at a bond program, but again, we're not ready to present this to you. I just wanted to plant the seed. Is there an alternative to the way that you've been doing historically that could actually move projects forward?
Commissioner Perry?
We have rejected that idea for 10 years. Yeah. That takes out any chance of some new project coming up in December that we need to do, because you will have committed December's money today. We have got, besides what's up here, we've got a moral commitment that we made on this neighborhood street to spend probably another $15 to $20 million on neighborhood streets that did not have associations in them. Basically a whole lot of South Jackson, some in North Jackson, where there's, when we did this, we said we recognized that a lot of neighborhoods did not have associations, so they didn't do it, and we would get them on the next round. And so, in addition to what you've got up here, some of which is going to come off, I agree. Phil, I didn't agree with you. I mean, I'm not putting you on saying that you said it. But, you know, if we do, if I were in business, I'd do a cash flow model. But we're not in business. I'm not sure the city council would even vote for it. I'm not sure if they have the authority to do it, to spend money we haven't received yet, to commit to a contract of money that we don't have in the bank to do. But if you want to spend next January's money on approving a project next month, I'm not for that. And I think it's bad policy. Some of these things have been on here for a long time. Some of these things, I don't know why they're on here to begin with, because we never talked about them. I think the goal we have here today is to set a priority to say, here's, if the city wants to do something, they got plenty of money over there. They can decide to spend some money on it themselves. But to spend next February, March's money in May, I think it's bad policy for the government to do, and it's something that we rejected all along.
Okay, of course, I don't know what the history of what the commission decided or not. I'm just looking at alternatives to actually move projects forward, and we're not ready to present it today because really the information is unavailable. It'll be ready for the next meeting, And again.
Well, I think first you can find out whether there's any sense in spending time working it up.
Well, I'm-
Get a sentiment whether anybody wants to see it or not.
I think also with economic uncertainty in the future, I think our models may be skewed, our projections, unless we do it very conservatively right now.
And then, of course, I mean, you don't know what happens with the economy. You could, the sales tax revenue could go down, but again, from a policy perspective, you can say, I only want to fund up to 80% of it, whatever the number that you all agree on. And again, I'm not saying this is a solution, I'm just saying this is a potential solution. Bonding is another solution to look at, but.
Bonding is not our solution, that's the council's.
I understand, but it's,
And why, and look, I'm not speaking against the bond, I told you, in lieu of doing what you were proposing, I would think it'd be a reasonable thing to do if it's a bond, because then the bond investors are taking the chance on the economy going down. But with us only having 9 more years worth of life of the commission, I'm not sure whether you can effectively do a bond. I mean, I'm not the bond guy, unless my son, but that'd be a council decision rather than ours about whether to look at doing bonds. But this is doing a bond without a bond. What you're proposing is doing a bond without a bond,
exactly. I mean, this is really a cash flow model that.
which is a business model, not a government model. Government's
Yeah,
getting bonds.
that's why business is a lot more efficient than government.
I
And
mean,
the government didn't
I don't
consider
disagree.
thinking outside the
I don't
box.
disagree with that.
So,
All right, move on.
all right, so what we've done here, again, I want to apologize, this is probably about 80-90% complete. My technical lead actually is out of the country, and I just found out at the meeting on Friday afternoon. So, but it's a majority of this information is correct here. There's probably 3 or 4 projects that need to be refined, and we will make sure that we make those corrections for the next meeting. So, some of the, as we go through these projects here, we also, and I will send you the actual digital copy, because you can click on the link, and you actually can see the project boundaries, and you can zoom on Google Earth and look at the details of this. And we can do this for any projects if you're interested in doing that there.
Because, Paul, I know you've asked for
Yeah,
this. This
I mean,
is-
that's super helpful. I'm a visual math guy, so I really appreciate that. That's
And again, if any of you really would like to do it between now and the next meeting, for us to sit down one-on-one with you, or a smaller group, we would love to do that, because obviously there's a lot of details here. So I'm just gonna focus on the big picture here and answer any questions that you have, and if I don't have the answers for the questions, we'll get it to you once Dr. Ahmad gets back from his overseas trip, which will be next Monday. So on the Midgar-Evers Boulevard, and again, there's a discussion whether this was part of the 1% commission or not. So I don't know what the history of that
What's
before.
the discussion? We voted it down 4 times.
So
I mean, you say there's a discussion, what's the discussion?
I don't know, I guess what I understand is that when I got there, it was on the list. So I didn't know what the background until you told me what the background is. So for information, I'm gonna provide the information where we are on the project. And then, obviously, this is something that the commission need to consider whether that's something they wanted to do moving forward or not. So the estimated project was about $30 million. The city applied for $24 million raise grant, and with the commitment that they will match it with $6 million. The grant was approved for $20 million. So when they actually signed the grant agreement, they committed to the $10 million difference. The construction estimate for this project was about $25.8 million plus or minus. Neil Schaefer is the engineer of this. The actual bid and the only bid that we received was almost $38 million. So you add the $38 million, and you add the testing, you add the CNI, you add the design, which the city has already paid for. You're talking about $44 million project instead of being $30 million. So we're basically over the budget of $40 million over the budget. So
Over the budget that you're,
we're 24 million is what
24
we
million.
need, what we need on top of the grant.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
24
14
million.
million over the 10 million.
Yeah,
Right, so the
yeah.
total of the local share to the grant is about $24 million. So obviously, this is a major issue. So MDOT, of course, what they wanted to do is they said, let's reject the bids, and that's what made sure for what they wanted to do. And my first response, I said, why do you want to reject the bid? And they said, we need to rebid it because this is way above the estimate. I said, but if we don't do something different, you're most likely going to get a higher bid than what we did before. So we had a number of meetings, had meetings with Hemphill to try to really understand why the cost this much different. We had a meeting with Neil Schaefer to understand what are the design assumptions that they have, is there any design modifications we can make to bring this project within budget. $7 million of that construction amount was water and sewer services. So we contacted Johnson Water. We went and met with them and said, this is now, when they applied for the grant, the water and sewer was under the city's jurisdiction. Obviously now you all know that Johnson Water controlled this. So we went and said, we would like to do the water and sewer, but we don't have the funding for it. Can you pay for it? So it took him 2 months. Initially said that we will consider it. They went to try to get funding for it, and then last week or the week before, they basically translated said they don't have the money to do the work. When we met with MDOT, we said to bring it within budget, and after meetings with Neil Schaefer team like 3 times, there's 2 things to actually bring it to the $30 million original budget. One is the removal of the water and sewer from the work. The second one is then actually looking at the replacement of the pavement, is actually rehabbing the pavement. But we still keep all of the stormwater improvement that need to be done and the median improvement. Everything else is going to say, but instead of actually replacing the entire pavement, we will only rehabilitate it. This will also save another $7 million. So we can bring the project within budget if we do those 2 items. Of course, the problem is that the grant language itself specifically says the scope is replacement, and the scope also requires water and sewer improvement. So removing it, we don't know whether the feds will approve it or not. So we met with them. They said go ahead and prepare a letter, which we did, and Lewis actually signed it a few days ago. So we can get it out to them. This is going to probably take them, a couple of months before it has to go to Washington to actually make a decision on this.
So just real quick, I got lost a little bit in the Jackson Water part of it. They are going to do the replacements on it?
No, they initially said that they might. They were looking for funds, and then they came back and said they don't have the money to do it.
Their answer, as I understand it, is it's not leaking now, it's not collapsed now, it's not a priority to replace.
Okay.
It's same thing as what they said on Woodrow Wilson. It's working fine, we got other things we need to work on.
Sure.
And just because you're gonna rebuild a road doesn't mean we want to replace the water and sewer right now. That's what I think the response was.
Yeah, but in the sewer, initially, this is, their response really was not, in writing, it was not like this, even verbally.
Yeah.
Because initially, when we had the discussion with them, they had their team review
Yeah.
both the need and the estimates for it. And they came back and say, we believe that the need is there, because there was CCTV that actually was done, and some of the sewer lines need to be replaced. So I don't think they question the need, Pete, on this specific project, but they.
I think the question the need for the full total replacement, there's certainly a need for here and there, but doing the whole mile and half. I think it's time to move on from that one, because let me remind one thing before you move on from. This is the same project, the same piece of 1.5 mile stretch that we spent $5 million on at the time the city was applying for that. And that whole $5 million is gonna be torn up and gone and wasted. So instead of the $24 million over and above the cost is $29 million, because we'll be pissing away the $5 million we spent.
Well, you're not, if you're not replacing the pavement, and if you're not replacing.
Neil Schaefer, Hibbett Neal and Keith and I went out there and wrote it. And they said 95% of what we spent would be gone.
This is correct, based on the previous design, not on
You
the
still,
new design.
you're still gonna be putting in medians and moving the curbs in and roads out. So
But it's significantly less than the $5 million.
okay, let's make it $3 million that we're throwing
No,
away.
it's going to be significantly less than that. But regardless of all of this, there's the rest of the project.
So maybe can we just take a look at it when he's ready to?
Yeah.
Make an ask for, I mean, I hear what you're saying, but.
They've asked 4 or 5 times, we turned it down 4 or 5 times. This has not been our project all along.
Sure.
So really, we don't even know.
I think it's time to move on.
Yeah, we're gonna move on. I mean, MDOT and Federal Highway might say, this is outside the scope, we're not
I
gonna.
understand, let's move. Let's talk about our projects.
The next one is the Woodrow Wilson Avenue from Martin Luther King to Mills Street. So this project was designed by SOL. We had a lot of issues with the design, particularly I guess in relationship to power line relocations and really the responsiveness of the consulting team. And we've been pushing him very hard for about 4, 5, 6 months to try to get answers and do what needs to be done and to try to finish the design and getting the relocation done. Finally, we came to conclusions that we probably terminate that contract. And they agreed with it. They said that they're not prepared to deal with it. They had a lot of staff turnover and a lot of other problems there. So it was actually mutually agreed upon decision that it's best for the city to actually retain somebody else. So we're now actively in discussion with Southern Consultants to take the design. We requested from SOL to provide all the CAD drawings, and we also requested from them we're reviewing all of the invoices, what they've invoiced, we're going to review the design to see what percentage is complete versus what they invoiced. And obviously, if there's a discrepancy, we will get Terry involved in actually drafting a letter of requesting to make the city whole in this process.
So the CAD has been requested.
Yeah.
Any indication that they're going to be able to provide that?
I mean, they said they will, but it's been a week, and we have not received it yet. But obviously, that's something that we're going to keep pushing on this. And Southern, that's what they're waiting on to actually get us an amendment to a new contract to actually take the design, review it, and make whatever changes we need. Because we can avoid the issue of the power line if we actually reduce the width of the lane. And that's really what we will talk to Southern.
Or we can avoid the issue of the power lines by building what we got right now and just having the power lines stay where they are. Because there's nothing legally that says we have to move those power lines.
That's correct. And that's really part of what.
That's the two choices.
Yeah.
Okay.
And again, Southern have not, I mean, we went and actually looked at a site visit with them that last week, but they're waiting on getting all the information to see how complete the design is before they actually finish it up and make a commitment. So there's no ask here. I just want you to be aware of this transition of engineering. Every time you have a transition, obviously the new engineer does not want to commit because of liability areas before they review the details of the design. So we'll get back with you when the time's right.
What is the carbon testing?
Testing, this is like all issues related to doing concrete test, asphalt test.
Where do we pay for that? Is that part of what's in the P&I, is that outside of that?
No, it's part of it.
I mean,
Most of
if I had that and that, would that give me that generally? I mean, is the pieces, I'm just,
so the testing is one item, and then testing is typically done when the CAI is.
I'm just, under the C&I, I'm just wondering, that's what I want to
Your
know.
question is, do we add testing to CE&I?
That's what I'm trying to.
Yeah, we do add it.
Is it, we've never heard the word testing here before, so is it included in what we've approved money for C&I before? Okay.
Before,
That's
but,
what I'm asking.
yeah, I mean, I broke it down because
Okay, I'm
it's,
just trying to figure out what the column was. Okay.
all right, so again, with that portion of it, we will, once we have the CAD drawings and we communicate with them, it might be next meeting, it might be the following meeting, but we'll just keep you posted on this. And really give you the status of what percentage is complete and how much is remaining to be done to be completed. On the next phase of Woodrow Wilson from Mills to I-55. So this project, Well, let me talk about the previous one, I guess, because of the budget issue as well. What MDOT committed on the Woodrow Wilson portion from MLK to Mill Street is $3.674 million. The engineer's latest estimate when they submitted the 80% design was $5.56 million. And you know, the reason for this is because this project was actually awarded in 2019. So this is a six-year-old numbers that was approved by MDOT.
Your notes here say 2016, or it says it was awarded federal funds in
On
2017.
MLK Mills.
Oh, we're still up on this one?
This is Woodrow Wilson two, that's Woodrow Wilson one.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah,
And that was 217, not 16. Woodrow Wilson one was 217.
216 came from MDOT. The other one said that they applied maybe in 2000. Maybe they got approved in 2000.
That approved in 217.
Yeah, but applying for the application
Okay.
and preparing the
Okay.
estimates.
I don't know, I just,
Yeah, that's what, I mean, I got the
Go
information,
ahead.
just to verify. So basically, that's why, when you have projects that actually linger for a long time, the cost goes up significantly. Even the next phase of Woodrow Wilson, this was done in 2016-17 timeframe, almost 8-9 years ago. So the total commitment from MDOT was 2.97. The estimate is about $8.8 million. So again, it's a significant area, but of course we don't have, we're not at the stage where we actually get
you can add to your notes, MDOT's agreed to pay $750, not NPO money, but MDOT money, because of adding that third lane, and they agreed to pay the CE&I.
MDOT agreed to pay the $750 for the additional design,
No,
additional construction for the third lane.
After it was approved, what was applied for, after it was approved, MDOT came and say, add a third lane, they'll pay for it.
And they pay for the CANI, and assuming they pay for the testing as well?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Now, when we went back to them a few months ago, they confirmed the 750, which Charles Williams told us they were gonna do, but never confirmed anything in writing, so we never had the 750. But they did say the 750, and they said, and we'll pick up the CEI, so just in your calculations.
No, that's good, thank you for sharing this. So really, the number is gonna be almost $1.5 million more than the 2.96.
And we raised, our initial obligation was matching the 2.8, which was about $700,000 or $800,000, and we raised that to $2 million, Michael, at some point. I forgot, a long time ago. So we've obligated, now, in $169 million, we got $2 million obligated right now towards it. It's gonna cost more than that. but that's-
So like that would be a $2 million that's in this column of previous 1% commission authorization?
Yeah, that, you can put $2 million there, because we have agreed, that's what's in our obligations right now.
So really, when you add the 2 million and add the 750 and the CNI and the testing, so that 5.8 estimated, could probably come down to about 3.5 or something.
And that's assuming that the design does not change? Because
What?
I mean, are we still considering a design change around those power poles?
No, we're talking about the other one. We're talking about,
That's the second project.
we're talking about.
This is
about
UMC type.
About the UMC.
We're not gonna have to move any power
No,
poles
no.
on that side? Okay.
All right,
And just for reference, so we can keep everybody straight, in our accounting and everything else, we treated that one that's got the power poles on it as Woodrow Wilson 2, and the other one is Woodrow Wilson 1, so just,
Is this the way that you had it?
yeah, that's why it's in other records, so just to keep everybody, because it's the order in which they,
Which is which?
Woodrow Wilson 1 is the one from I-55 to Mill Street Bridge, which was the first one that was awarded.
No power poles.
And then the second one, 3 years to MLK, is Woodrow Wilson 2.
So I'll probably just swap them.
You can swap them in order, too.
Yeah, that makes it easier for everybody. Thank you
Yeah,
for this institutional knowledge, because obviously I didn't have it.
yeah, sure.
Any questions on Woodrow Wilson before we move to Mandel?
I think we're not powerful on this, we're not powerful on it, Which one? The second one. we have about 2 or 3 power poles. We are supplying like the 30 signals. On
But this is gonna be part of the design, this issue to the design.
I don't think those power poles, they don't have a right-of-way problem with that one, do they? That was the problem. Woodrow Wilson too, is not having a right-of-way to move.
Right.
Yeah.
On the resurfacing of Dower Road from Highway 18 to Raymond Road. This is the design is complete. We're expecting to open the bids on May 13. The MDOT obligation for this is about 2.3 million. The engineer's estimate is about 2.4 million. So I think this number is.
One of the things I wanted to see on these reports, and I know you don't have it right now, is how old that estimate is, because since we've been burned on so many bad estimates, is that, is that what it?
The 2.4 millions came,
Okay, let me just finish, for everybody else, you've heard me say this. I want to know if that's a 2-month-old estimate or a 2-year-old estimate, because we found right now that a lot of these estimates we gave were underestimated in order to get approval. So when you give us these numbers, just.
yeah. So this 2.4 is actually what the engineer submitted when they submitted the design,
Which is
current.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they, you know, I feel good about this number.
Gotcha.
So again, there's no action here until we actually open the bids, and we'll come back to you with the actual bid amount. And that's fine. The next one is the August Thomas Catching the Broad Bridge. So the bids on this were opened on March 25th. The engineer's estimate was 1.57 million. Hemphill was the lowest bidder at 1.67 million. We had another bid, Key LLC of 2.6 million, which was significantly higher. But this is only about 6% above what the engineer estimate was, so it's actually good. So again, on this one, you know, we recommend authorization of both the construction, the CA&I work for this.
Okay. Here's what I want to know on a lot of these projects. What's the justification for this project? Other than we've been told it needs to be done, so let's put it on our list. Tell me about the project and why these bridges need, are they closed, are they falling in? What's the issue about why that project needs to be built? And that's the question on a bunch of these coming up. I'm not saying I'm against it, I just want to, it's kind of like that, some of those bridges we were looking at before and said, why the hell are we doing these?
So I'm just, you know, again, I'm new to this thing. My question is,
What I'm saying is, we're new to why that bridge needs to be on here, just like you. So tell me why we ought to spend $1 million on it, my only question.
you're going to be only spending 431,000.
I thought it says additional. Okay, is that total? Okay.
Yeah, so
Okay,
you have-
okay, tell us why we ought to spend $500,000 on it, that's the same question.
I assume because the bridge needs replacing. That's not what.
We found out, we've been told a bunch of times, and not just this administration, going all the way back. Greenwood Bridge, it needs replacing. You go look at it, everybody says why, and they quit deciding to do it. Just because it was on a whiteboard up there on the 5th floor, and nobody went out and looked at it. I've actually been across this bridge, I know where it is, but I think a lot of these, the only reason it's on the list is because Robert Lee or somebody before him, might have been Dr. Williams, came in here and put it on the list. We don't know why. And I think if we're having to sit here looking at a limited amount of money and a lot of projects, somehow prioritize them, I need to know why. Why does Officer Thomas Catchings need to be built more so than the Monument Street Bridge? I mean, just if I'm prioritizing, why does one, if we gotta make a choice, why? And And I don't have an answer, this is a legitimate question.
It's a legitimate question, but, you know, it's a legitimate question to be asked really before the design should started.
We didn't get that choice. We were given it, the city went and applied for it, Robert Lee said, we got these approved, give us money for design. And maybe we should ask the question then, but we weren't looking at $40 million worth of projects with $10 million worth of money there. And so-
We'll find out. Of course, when you apply for the NPO, I mean, there is a ranking criteria for all these projects. And if they will not probably rank high enough to be funded unless there's an issue with them.
No, Greenwood Bridge was right high enough to be funded, and everybody went and looked at it and said, this is before y'all, this is back in 2000. And everybody said no.
Just for clarity, when they rank the LPA projects, the LPA from MDOT division is not going out there and actually justifying the merits of the job. And I think what Mr. Perry is asking about is more along the lines of, you know, why is this a capital needs priority in the long list of needs that the city has that they're coming to the 1% with? And so I mean, you know, when our board asks me for justification for a project, I just try to explain why it ranks where it does. And so like it's not a great looking bridge, but I don't see a load rating on it. And so that would kind of be one of my questions is,
And for the first time, I'm learning that it's 2 bridges.
okay, yeah.
I mean, and I did not know that until now.
So I mean, I guess just for me, what's the most satisfying thing is just someone being able to come to a meeting and say, hey, look, we looked at all these bridges. These are load rated. Here's pictures of the signs where they can't have more than a 2 axle truck crossing them. It's cutting off this many people, and that's why, you know, like comparing it to like the Alice Street Bridge, like
And of course, I made the assumption
I know.
that somebody at the city.
I'm not blaming you for it.
No, I understand you're not blaming me.
I'm just saying, Beasley Road Bridge is on our list. We all know it's got school traffic, it's got major traffic, it's Alice Street Bridge, it's a little neighborhood that nobody really crosses, and they vote $600,000. If I'm gonna prioritize them, I'm gonna put this one and not this one. I don't know about, you know, these others. All I'm saying is, tell us the justification for why we need it, other than you took bids on it. And yes, it should have been done 2 years ago.
We are where we are. We can get whatever answers you all need. So that's why we're going through this exercise here. So hopefully we will have a more informed decision-making process. All right, the next project is the South State Street.
This is a prime example of what I was just saying. You knew I was gonna go there, so you understand.
Know exactly what you're talking about.
I have thought all along from what they told us when they applied for this was from the Capitol Street to the railroad. It's about 3 miles of pretty bad road with a lot of businesses on it. I learned just the other day by reading something that it is from the railroad to the liquor store, which is about a half a mile, and no businesses. And the estimate's way low. It's now gonna cost a bunch of money to fix that little section, when this section up here is still gonna be undone. And to me, that $1 million to fix that little section from the railroad to the liquor store would be a lot better spent on doing 5 miles worth of neighborhood streets, or maybe the officer catching the bridge. I mean, just because we applied for it and got NPO money, we learned now that the estimate's $1 million too low, because Robert decided if you lowball the estimates, you get more approved and then come back and get the money. And I've also learned now that you can get money for the engineering if you ask for it, but if you ask for it, then you don't get selected on the engineer. And in this last set, we asked for it on 3 or 4 projects, we didn't on this one. I'm wondering why we hadn't asked for it all along every time, but it makes a difference about whether MDOT makes you go through that procurement or whether you pick who you want.
Yeah, so just
I'd like to know
a little bit
if I-
of clarity on the procurement of an engineer when it's being funded by MDOT. You still do get to procure your own engineer. You just have to go through the selection process, which means advertising an RFP, assembling a committee, ranking them, and picking them. I mean, it's entirely still up to the LPA itself, which is the local body, Jackson, City of Jackson, to select it. So it's, you don't just get to go
Yeah,
say
but
that.
then it put MDOT requirements on it, which would be different from the city
It
requirements.
does, well, yes, now,
I mean,
that is a big part of it. So it is, they will come and they will tell you what you can spend with that engineer.
You don't get to put in all your 30% EDO requirements.
Oh, well, yeah,
Yeah, this is correct, if it's over $250,000 fee.
Yeah.
If it's under $250,000 fee, actually, they will allow you to pick a firm from already pre-selected MDOT approval.
Okay, but still, my question is, I don't care about people, I don't care who people know how to say so that. I do care about letting the state pay for pay for 80% of it rather than us pay for 100% of it. That's my objection. I'm not talking about who you pick or how you pick it. The difference is, them paying 80%, but them paying zero. But on State Street, I think everybody, before we come back to the next meeting, start in Old Capitol where the CCID is stopping and drive south to the railroad and look at that, and then drive from the railroad to the liquor store and look at that and say, is that worth $1 million? Just, I'm not against, if we had plenty of money, I'd do it too, but I would do this other section. I'd rather spend $1 million up here without MPO money than spend it down there with MPO money. I mean, just for my dollars.
Monument Bridge. I don't have any information on what the engineer estimate is, but the MDOT actually obligations at 1.38 million. And we should know probably in the next 30 to 45 days what the engineer estimate is.
So that's under some kind of design now, or like it's.
There is a civil tech doing design.
But I mean, like, they've started on that, and,
So once they, submit the final plans, they actually submit the construction estimates to it. So we will know at that time whether we have enough money to cover the project or under, over, whether
That is an MPO project, isn't it?
we're-
Yeah, I see it. Never mind. Thank you.
from Beasley Road and Highland Drive intersection. So this project, the PSNE was completed and submitted. They're looking at having the advertisement for this sometime in June. This requires acquisitions. If you look at the northeast portion of the intersection, there is a big sinkhole over there. I don't know if you have seen it or not. I can probably show it to you if you want to look at the map, if anybody's interested. But anyway, because of the sinkhole, this is all in private property. There's two parcels that need to be purchased. So these parcels, one of them, the landowner initially wanted, the appraisal came like $67,000. They wanted $75,000. They settled for 10. So I guess the recommendation was to move forward with the 10, so you don't go spend money on condemnation and other things there. So that's one part of it. And then the other one parcel is owned by two LLCs. The appraisal was $6,940. They actually agreed for the appraisal matter, but they wanted $40,000 for some damages for legal purposes. So the city was going to move forward with condemnation with those. They're going to hire a firm to do condemnation for about $2,300. So this adds up to about $19,000 for acquisition purposes.
Hadn't the city already gone to council and got this money approved? It was on the agenda a month ago,
Oh, the 10,000, yes,
and it's been approved,
yes.
and it was approved using modernization tax money.
I don't know what it was.
It was, Actually, it said modernization tax or 1%. Is what's on the packet information, whatever that sheet is. We've never done right-of-way acquisitions, and we're not going to do legal fees. Legal fees are certainly not in our statute. And we've never done the right-of-way acquisition. That's always had to be done somewhere in the preliminary work. Well, if we didn't do this project, like you're asking for right-of-way over on the Medgar Evers, which we're not going to do, and that project never got done, we would have bought $22,000 worth of land for a project we didn't do, and that's one reason why we can't do it, because it's not in the statute. So I think, I'm not saying anything about the project itself, I'm talking about your plan to ask, which by the way is not on the agenda for this meeting, so you can't, well, it is too. But, you know, we don't do right-of-way acquisition.
Can I ask a quick question here? So, would you just very briefly tell me again what the right-of-way what the property acquisition for, repairing that?
Yeah, you see this big hole over here?
I do.
Yeah.
But there's pipe there. There's not a, I mean, we don't have to get in the weeds about it, but we're buying
Okay.
property over pipe that's already in existence with riprap in it?
No, okay. This is, okay, this whole area here is an erosion issue. Yeah, there's a pipe here, but it doesn't address any of this. Okay, and this is continuing to erode. It wasn't like this when we actually applied for this project. It's gotten worse. Okay, and one of the main features of this project included a sidewalk. Without this work done here, you cannot put the sidewalk in. And if you don't fix it, you're...
Where's the current right-of-way line? How far back is this current right-of-way already? I mean, just roughly, you don't have to, I mean, like, on the left side, I can say it's just about where that fence is, and there's a ditch. Wouldn't the right-of-way be on the other side of the ditch? I mean, I'm trying to figure out what we're buying.
You're buying two small parcels of property that allow you to do this construction. I mean, I'm not the engineer.
I understand. But another reason why I don't think we could buy that right away is for a sidewalk, and we're not supposed to do a sidewalk. But I don't see why we do right aways. That ought to be part of what's in the engineering or whatever. And if you already got money from the city, well, I'll be coming back with. Well,
Yes, so, you know, again, this is my experience, right-of-way acquisition, surveying, mapping, all of this is incidental to a design of a project.
if we can.
So what I'm hearing you say is that if it was done early on as part of the design, you're okay with it?
Well, the surveying is different from right-of-way acquisition.
No, I understand, but it's all incidental.
Okay, but we have generally not done projects that require right-of-way acquisition.
We try not to do
We
that.
try not
And
to.
this one didn't have it.
West County line, Tiger Grant had a lot of right-of-way.
That's
It was
right.
all done outside of us.
Well, I don't know, I don't,
It was supposed to be done outside of our funds, but there's a lot of stuff charged there that went way over the $63 million. But surveying is certainly part of the engineering. Most of the time, we're overlaying and resurfacing. We're not doing projects that get outside. We try not to.
I agree, we're absolutely not trying, we're trying to avoid right-of-way acquisition, because it's
It's a
a
problem.
pain in the ass.
But
But, this was not there when we were doing the application, and it was there when they did the initial sort of engineering and identified it.
Do we know offhand who engineer at Neil Schaefer is?
Hmm?
Do we know, anybody know the name of the Neil Schaefer engineer?
Mark Sewell.
Next one, the Smallwood Street Bridge.
tell us just a little bit more about this project, just while we're dealing with the project. So, you're gonna put a new traffic signal in place of the stop signs, is that, and
Yeah, my understanding is that there's gonna be a turn lane added over on this side. You're gonna have a traffic signal, because, this is
yeah,
Callaway. That's really busy intersection, you know, during school. And then there'll be the sidewalk will go, up to allow a crosswalk
So the
over to
sidewalk,
the school,
the
yeah.
sidewalk's gonna be coming from here on the east side, on the north side of the road, on the east
Right,
side.
yeah, there's
Down to the stop
apartments.
sign, down to the stop sign to pass there, and then they'll be able to cross over to the.
Yes.
Just to go to the school.
How far down is the sidewalk coming from?
It goes down, to,
Gas station.
We're not
Yeah,
allowed
to
to
the
build that
bottom.
sidewalk. We're not allowed to build that sidewalk. We could build a sidewalk where we build in a road, but we're not doing Beasley Road all the way down there. Our statute does not include sidewalks, and we're supposed to have gotten an AG's opinion about that on Raymond Road, but that AG's opinion was never asked for. But when I called them, they said that would be their opinion. We don't have authority to build that sidewalk. I like the project, by the way. I like putting the turn lane in, this traffic signal. But if that sidewalk, I've now seen the first picture I've seen of it about this, I thought this is traffic signal and turn lane was what we're doing. But if we're doing a sidewalk all the way down there, find me in the statute where we can do that.
it's part of the project that you can do.
If we could do sidewalks where we're doing a road, we're not doing that road. In fact, the county's fixing to repave that road with state money,
I don't know that they're doing that portion.
Yeah, they're doing from I-55, they're doing from I-55,
Oh, okay,
they're doing from I-55 to just past there somewhere. Hanging Moss.
okay.
They've already done it.
They've already done it.
Yeah, so probably some of the sidewalk could be eligible.
That little bit of sidewalk
Around
over
the intersection and connecting with Calvary.
Yeah, that could be.
This is part of the intersection.
Yeah, but where the intersection is, yeah, I think you could not argue that. I mean, we do
So
sidewalk.
what you're questioning is really the one
Outside
outside
all the way down.
outside the lane.
Yeah. Building a sidewalk across that eroded ditch and building a crosswalk and,
Yeah.
you know, that certainly is part of the project.
So can I just for the, this has been, no, this is getting advertised, I'm sorry, I was looking at the wrong one. This is gonna be advertised in June. Okay,
That's correct.
I'm sorry. I was looking at the next one, I was like, wait a minute. All right.
Right.
We need to settle together with the timeline on it. We need an action on this.
Okay, so I'm saying that we need that additional parcel to be able to put a turn lane, because right now it's just two lanes, one going north, one going south.
I thought the turn lane was on the south side of it.
There's no turn lane there. So before we can put a turn lane there, we need an additional.
Wait. Go to the map. There's a turn,
No, there's no turn lane.
I know, but where's the new turn lane going in?
It will be in the middle, it will be in the middle.
Oh, it's gonna go in the middle.
Yes,
So the road's gonna widen out right there both ways.
yes.
Okay.
So before we can do that, we need to acquire that piece of land to have no space.
Okay.
So I guess for the transition, however bad you can go with the sidewalk at the end of the limit of the project.
So-
I mean, I'm not gonna go out there for tape measure if you want.
But what would be helpful in this, like just as an example, to help the meeting be like super efficient, would be just like a single plan sheet showing this, which I'm sure exists in the negotiated plans, right? So that's the kind of thing that's super helpful to me, and then just.
Thank you. The meeting has now ended.
Well, that's good.
I guess he dropped off.
So, you know, just so we can not have to try and describe everything, this and that and the other. And for me, if we're talking about right away, and I know you're not asking, well, maybe eventually we'll be asking for money for something, right? If we could have Mark here and we could just real quick have a little like, so there's no easement there. There's, how do we end up in this situation? And then all the questions are answered, we've got a plan sheet, done. Then we can move on, and you can either authorize the money or not. And we've been talking about this little simple project for 22 minutes or something.
Angela?
Anyway, just some thoughts about how we.
You are the only participant in the meeting.
Effective.
Yes.
All right, let's keep going.
Smallwood State Bridge, again, the design of this project was completed, and we initially handed to to the county to actually do the work.
And the county took bids on it. And then Lewis Wright went to the county and told them that we were going to do it. And Lewis Wright came back in and said he didn't do it. So he told us in this meeting that the county voted last week to take it off their agenda. So, thank you, Mr. Wright, I went and watched their meeting and listened to their meeting. And I got a transcript of this section of their meeting if anybody wants to see it, where 3 different supervisors said Lewis Wright told them that the city was going to do it, the city already had money in place, and the city was working on contracts for it.
Let's do this, Commissioner Carey, let's do this. I'm gonna set up a meeting with the supervisors, Deborah Dixon, Butler, Tony Smith, yourself, and me.
I don't care, I'm not voting for it anymore, because they were going to build it, and Wanda Evers said in that meeting that if the city's not going to do it, she'd bring it back up and they'd do it. I think as far as I'm concerned, it's over, because you want to cost us $1.5 million. But Tony Smith said in that meeting, Wanda Evers said in that meeting, and Deborah Dixon said in that meeting. Then when I talked to Robert Graham after our telephone conversation approving the money for Country Club, I asked him what happened. He said Lewis Wright told us that the money was already there, that money's in place. And so I got 4 supervisors that said you did tell them that. Now then, if you did tell them that or didn't, I don't care. But at this point, they were going to do it, and now they're not going to do it. So as far as I'm concerned, we ought not do it. Wanda Evers said, if the city doesn't do it, and I believe I can get her a quote right here. But Mr. Wright informed me Friday that the city had the money and they were working on Charter Road right now. So let us see what the city of Jackson does to fix these bridges. And if they don't do it, then we'll come behind them and try to get it done. I can tell you, if you want to watch that meeting, it's the February 3rd meeting. It starts at 23 minutes and 26 seconds into the meeting.
Let's proceed on, let's just move on.
I think we should just strike this.
I think we
And let the.
I think we ought to take it off right now, as well as Shaw, and see what the county does. And tell them that we've taken it off and see what the county does.
The next one is the Ellis Street Bridge. And again, we had a discussion a couple of meetings ago about the need for the bridge. Pete looked at, there's only like one, like I see indicated in the meeting, there's only one house impacted.
There are four or five houses on this side of the bridge, there's none on this side.
So this one,
And it's, so they're living on a dead-end street right now because the bridge is closed. And that bridge has been closed for a couple of years, and they ain't had a problem. I would contend those people in that neighborhood would rather see that $680,000 spent repaving their streets rather than replacing a bridge that nobody's needing to drive across. Why is it a priority, is my question. That's my question, is tell me why that's more important than doing Beasley Road Bridge for $600,000. Beasley Road's got all kinds of traffic on it, this one doesn't have any. I mean, my question is just a priority question. And I'm gonna look up.
I don't have the answer to this. Basically, this serves 15 residents, and nobody actually checked with the residents to see this. Is it convenience issues, is it safety issues?
It's not a safety issue because they've been living with it for 4 years being closed. I live on a dead-end street, and it doesn't mean that traffic can't come up and down and get there. I mean, this is basically about a 400-foot-long dead-end street right now. And if you build that bridge, they can drive out this way, but right now they can drive out that way, and that's the way they are driving out anyway. If we have plenty of money, great, it's a closed bridge, but we don't have plenty of money. That's my whole point about this whole thing. Tell me why that one's a priority. Tell me something about this. Tell me something that sells me on why that bridge ought to be spent $680,000 on, compared to all the other things on this list.
No, I understand your question clearly. But again, by feeling this question should be asked before the design, because here we spend
Okay,
$78,000 on design, and we should not.
just because we spent, just because we wasted 78, well, I would waste another 700.
I'm not questioning this, we'll give you answers to.
I mean, we ought not waste another 700. Mine right now is the same thing I said before, and it didn't stop the rest of them. Don't go advertise for bids right now. Don't go advertising until you get an answer on this, because all these others that you're going ahead and advertising, when we sit here saying something about, no, let's get some answers to them. Don't move forward on your schedule until you find out whether we're going to give you the money.
I mean, that's precisely what we're doing.
I understand.
Okay, so hopefully we'll have some answers to these. The Beasley Road Bridge, this project was actually the construction estimate, the design was completed. We had bids on March 18. The engineer estimate was 580. The lowest bidder was 544,000, which is a little bit lower than the engineer estimate. And then you have 101,000 for CA&I. So between the construction and the CA&I, adds up to about 651,000. And this also includes $5,000 for Intergy for decommissioning the line while they're doing the work, and then commissioning it again when the work is finished. So this adds up to about $651,000.
Can you click on that, show us?
Go west, just go where
Yeah,
you-
Should be. We're going,
So Lewis, isn't this the one that was closed at one time, then the county did some temporary shoring on it or something?
Right, and open it back up.
They opened it back up by splicing some piles or something like that.
Right.
But it's open now.
It is open now, but it's in need of replacement.
Is it on the other side?
No, it's right in there, it's right in there.
Right. Where is it in relation to the Beasley Road construction that we were on?
Half a mile away.
We-
It's going back to, the construction is to the east.
Construction's to the.
This one's going back to the west before you get to right
No,
now.
no, not that construction, the other construction. The Beasley Road going out to Northwest Industrial Park.
Okay,
That's waiting.
this is the bridge.
That's the bridge.
Yeah,
So
just before you get to walk in, just before you get.
I think the Beasley Road, Northwest Industrial Park is widening, all I think. I think, okay, I'm just,
So this is a super heavily used bridge,
Yes,
and it's a timber bridge, like that's,
it's the temple.
that's what I'm reading, or that's what somebody said, timber bridge.
they do this.
So do we want to do this project?
I mean, just, right now, I'm not saying any, it's just, I just. Matt tell me, just in the grand scheme of things, probably not too, looking at that bridge, what we got a 2-lane, 20-foot span maybe. Is that $600,000, $500,000?
Do we know if they're just coming back with a precast Choctaw Bridge? Anybody know what's actually being proposed there?
That's kind of what my question, yeah.
I don't know.
No, no.
I mean, all those bridges have been between like $500,000 and $700,000, no matter what.
No, the Swan Lake Bridge is $300,000. That's why I'm trying to get the difference.
Yeah. Do we think it's only those things?
I don't know. Yeah, that's probably 32 foot maybe.
What is that, right?
It's a walking trail and
It's
a
sewer
sewer
line.
line. That's,
Okay.
just the bridge is gonna be replaced.
They put it-
Walking trail.
I want to tell you that years ago, they put a walking trail on it to keep kids from walking across it without having a walking trail. I mean, just because, I know what kids would do with that. I mean, I'm guessing, and to make a safe way to cross the bridge too, I mean, it's.
So I just, so we took bids,
Yeah, the bids expired on May 18th.
so we took bids a while ago. If we're not moving to do anything with this today, is the idea to come back next?
Well, the next meeting is on May 14th.
I think we're gonna get through the whole list and talk through any of it.
Okay.
I mean, really, after we we go to the 1% says that's sufficient to the city council to approve it afterwards.
We have time after the next meeting.
Well, the next meeting is May 14th, and their council meeting is what?
The 20th, so
And then we have to get the contract
One,
signed, so
yeah.
it'll be after the day.
you could ask him for the whole process. It's-
We can ask for an extension.
You know, if there are any bids other than Hemphill and Key? You got
No,
no bids?
there are two bids.
Key's a good friend. He tells me they will not be able to put one project in the town in the city of Jackson. And so I noticed they bid on 2 or 3 of them. They only want one in the town of Jackson because they paid for record. But I'm just wondering if I noticed they bid, they were high on another bid.
They're a lot higher than the other bid, they're a lot.
I'm trying to figure out if those are legitimate bids from them. Or just, or kind of like Hemphill from Mega Upper say nobody else gonna bid it, we'll put the number in.
I am curious what the contract time is on this. And for $101,000 to CDI.
That's a good question too.
That's a lot of money for CDI.
You would think that you could build that bridge in a couple of months. 3 months.
Just
Yeah, if you look at CNI, that's not like.
The shore road bridge, we already talked about this. This is, again, as we move forward. Raymond Road, the Raymond Road and the Country Club bridges, these are all under design with the EGAS. And we still part of that 3 months away from, or 2 months
Can
away.
you tell us anything about the country club bridges? I found both of them. We started off with one, and then they added the second one. The estimate is what? $1 million?
Yeah, this is for both bridges. But again, this estimate was early on, really, we didn't finish the design, and we'll just see what the engineer estimate is going to be. Are you ready for the next one?
Yes.
Swan Lake Drive Bridge. We actually had the engineer estimate of this was 282,000, and the in-lot obligation was 327,000. No, sorry.
There's no $1 million.
No, this is a construction bid, 326, sorry, I was reading
Give
wrong.
me that number again for the
No,
truck.
the bid was 327,000.
327. That's how much it is.
This is 327,160.
Okay.
The bid.
But now we've already approved one of that.
Right, but I don't know how much did you approve, you remember?
Okay.
Is that part of that? Is that 330?
I think that's right.
How much did you approve?
Yeah, 330.
Yeah. We did that like in January or something.
So typically, you don't approve it before the bids, or I guess the bids were already taken, yeah, we did earlier.
Yeah, I mean, bid ran, and we approved it based on bid.
Yeah, but that was October, we think we took action in October 24.
Yeah, I don't know, I think about that.
So there-
There.
So they're beginning, Enfield is actually the contract on this, and this should be finished in 4 to 6 weeks.
I did know that was a little short bridge. It's just an air 2 lane. But it's, that's why I want to ask about the possibility.
The Martin Luther King Bridge, this is actually opening today at 3:30. Design is complete. The engineering cost estimate was 941.
We did not authorize anything, that's fully, that's 100% EDR, we just had no this, we not authorize anything for it. Just, I mean,
So the ARER funding was 550.
yeah, I mean, and when they brought it to us, they said, it's 100% funded, but it's short, they're gonna come back, but we not authorized anything for it.
authorization, so we really wouldn't know until we get the bids. So we'll, once we get
Well,
the bid tabs, we'll bring it back.
Okay, but here again, this for, the estimate's 900,000, we applied for 530 last year. We applied for 530,000, and they now got an estimate of $930,000. This whole issue about the estimates that we're using when we're applying for money or coming in here and asking us for projects. And they redesigned that project to make it cheaper because of overhead power lines. Elmore told us that what they did when they changed it to box cover or whatever it was going to be cheaper, so.
So let's see when the bid's gonna come, actually, it's 3 bids, bid the whole thing.
What is it?
It's probably, yeah, yeah, so we'll know whether additional funding is needed or not. If it is, we'll inform you. On the Northwest Industrial Park, Beasley Road, this design is also completed. We took bids in January 28th, and this first project, we actually had competitive bids. We had 5 bidders submitting this. The lowest bidder was 1.6 million, and the highest bidder was 1.9. So all of them were very competitive. With the engineer estimate was 2.3 million, so we were under the bid came under the budget here. So basically what we're asking for here is paying the construction, authorizing the construction and authorizing the CEI, which adds up to about 1.77 million.
And my concern about this, what we were talking last week, this is on the city's list, wish list of the legislature to get them to fund. And the legislature didn't do anything this year. They adjourned that, so they come back sometime in 29th of June. And there's a big question about whether the Senate's going to go along with the House wish list or not. But do we want to fund this if the state's fixing to, they might give them immediate six to fund it with?
Should we ask the question?
If we fund it, they'll come off that list and they'll fund something else.
Well, see, the issue is that
The issue is you need to be able to talk to us. So go ahead.
I guess my question is, if you all approve it, and then the state funds it,
The state will not fund it if we approve it, I'm saying the policy says. If the state finds out the city's already funded this, we like the county with those 2 bridges. They'll say, we'll give it $1.6 to Winona and satisfy somebody up there. If they find out we've already funded it. I mean, I'm not against the project, but I am saying, if the city, I don't know how the city decides what they put on their wish list if they go and ask the state for. But
This would be asked for in this year's
They-
budget appropriation?
they asked for it this year's budget program.
So we would know that within a couple of months?
Well, but they, we should have known about it.
But they didn't.
They just said, they will have a special session. And Mike might have a better idea than I do about what the chances are. The House wants to have a Christmas tree bill and the Senate doesn't. So, whether they even have one, who knows? And if they do, whether this will be included or not, who knows? There might be an argument made, and I will make this argument, that it might say, hey, we got a new administration, we're showing them good guys, we're gonna give them something. If I'm sitting over there in the legislature, they might decide to take that. They might say, we still don't like Jackson, ain't gonna give me, I don't know what they're gonna do, whether they're gonna fund it or not, but it's on the city's wish list.
So this is almost exclusively paving?
This is nothing paving, if I remember right.
I mean, if AJ Construction's doing it, it's paving.
Well, it's a little bit of basic paving, but basic paving.
Right.
Not even overlay, I mean, not even doing this.
Gotcha.
There's no curb and gutters out there, if I remember right. But it's a good bid. What's the chance of them opening the bid?
well, I would have said if, I mean, this was in January 28th, I guess we need to ask them whether they, actually the bids really expired. And then do we ask them to extend the bid? Yeah, that's all.
Super easy.
But
It's a super easy call to make, Just call it contractor.
Yeah, I think first call,
They'll tell you on the phone if they're home.
I think first call contractor, we'll meet again in two weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, I would ask them to hold it until the end of the day. This is, or you want longer than 2 weeks. Well, you don't know when the.
You're gonna have to ask them to hold it longer than 2 weeks.
I'm just saying we're gonna meet in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But you approved it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd ask them to hold it. Ask them
You're
to
gonna have to hold it for
it.
another month.
Yeah.
Well, the end of the day must not be enough, because we don't know when the legislative.
But I asked them every month, and by then, we might have a handle on what they want.
Or do you want to just ask them until the end of June? Because they're gonna have to have the legislative session before the end of the fiscal year. Because,
Very soon.
they have to have a budget, that's
Shouldn't take so who knows. Yeah, ask them, I'd ask them in June, see what you get. They might say no, and think June 15th, I'm just negotiate, yeah. But this started off, frankly, Dwayne O'Neill was, so we ought to do an older discussion department. Rob Lee added these roads to it, and made a different project out of it, so we're just gonna do the industrial department. I don't know what the connection is, but the industrial part, that's why I think it might actually have some air with the legislature. I think it's a lot easier for the legislature to justify giving money to the project when you can talk about economic development. They're more likely to do that to give you a parking lot for the civic center. But if it's sold to them for economic development, these industries out there, otherwise I wouldn't worry about being on that wish list. I just think it gives some kind of air.
I think MDA, is that the one they provided some seed funding, right, to do some economic development? So MDA,
MDA is in it.
For the site development grant,
right,
I think so, yeah.
Good thing.
It was one of the, got 2 awards
Yeah.
for about 250,000 plus.
right.
That's just some general improvements.
Yeah.
It doesn't over our budget.
No, I'm just saying in terms of what Commissioner Perry says, you know, if it's an economic development project, the city might take it on.
They might be more willing to.
Right, yeah. So just mentioning MDA's
Yeah.
involvement, right, yeah.
And if they wouldn't pay me $6, I'd rather let them do it than us.
Yeah, of course, what we do is just ask them to.
Just like I would, just like I would Hatch County, of course.
So we'll wait until we'll request for them to extend it to the end of June.
Yeah, okay.
And then this way, we'll keep you posted in the next meeting that they agree with that.
This on industrial.
Yeah, this is part of the Well, what I think we were on with Dee was saying that this is actually, this project is on the city's list for legislative funding.
Okay. So something we should, it's not, it's only a limit amount, isn't it, but, on the city's list of legislative funding.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly how much was included, but it was,
According to what I read in the Northside Sun, which is my source, it's 7 million cents, but I don't know where they got that information.
That's not just that number.
Yeah, I mean, I have no idea, y'all know that, I just saw it in the Sun.
Why is it inside track?
Yes.
All right, the Old Canton Road, this design is expected to be completed in the next couple of weeks. But again, what we talked about 2 or 3 commission meetings ago, that we put on hold.
The county is going to have money for
Yes, we did not bid it, I mean, the design is finished, it was gonna be finished.
Well, right now,
Advertised.
Right now, y'all have to be in, because we ain't got $10 million. I mean, that's the real issue right now, that's a $10 million project. Don't go out and bid it, because we ain't got $10 million. Now, what we're gonna do with that when and how is the question, I'm just saying, forget the legislative thing, don't take bids on a project we ain't got $10 million for.
We're not,
Yeah.
we're not taking bids.
Well, you were going to.
No, we're not saying that, we're saying the design's gonna be finished, and
I know you-
advertisement's on hold, is what we're gonna say. So we're gonna wait until see what happened with the legislators and what happened with the, we don't even know what the engineer's cost estimate yet. So once we get that information, we'll provide it to us.
It's early estimates, $10 million. I do know that.
Yeah, it's early, yeah, but we don't want the people to decide.
I understand.
Got this week, McDowell Road, this bid actually is bidding today. Designs completed this.
Is this actually bidding that?
Yeah, those two projects is MLK and this project.
Would you guys consider sending us an email with those
Numbers?
numbers?
Yeah, well,
So we can not wait another month to see those numbers.
Yeah, once we get it.
And you can say, these are not accepted bids, but these are the numbers, if you guys wish.
Maybe send this as a Google Doc or something that we can see the changes made, or highlight the updated bids that we received or something like that.
We would. Next one is the West Capital Street. We had discussions about this, including 2 or 3 commission meetings ago. The initial budget for this was 14.9 million. We talked about whether we need the water and sewer components, and we met with Jackson Water, basically said they're going to fund it, and they don't think that they even need it. So we removed that, we plan to remove those elements. Plus, the mayor suggested that we actually look at doing random labs instead of traffic signals. So those changes is going to require for us to actually go back and amend the engineering design. We met with the engineers, they gave us budgets to negotiate back and forth. The final budget they gave us was $180,000. But it includes changes to phase 1 of the project. And we went back to them and said, we're not going to make any changes in phase 1, focus on phase 2. So they're supposed to give us a revised amendment to make those changes by May 5th.
But we're not paying the engineer on that project. That was paid with modernization job. That's not, I mean, make those changes, I'm all for it, but that's not an issue to us. Number one, we don't decide what goes into the plan, although I do want to hear from Brian about what they're talking about on that. But that section of Capitol Street, the contract for the engineering was on modernization, was not ours.
I understand. I guess really, is this a project that the commission is interested in funding the construction of? Or we don't know yet?
I think what I've heard, and I will speak for what I've heard, probably would like to see it divided into 2 projects, do Gallatin to Rose, and get it converted into 2-lane. Thinking it's in the $4 to $5 million range. And then you got Rose to Prentice, which could be phase 2 project done later on. But I will also say, I mean, I realize one side of the street on top of the other, maybe one side of the hall on top of the other. The city has included in that money to be spent for that bond bill, the $40 million, not our bond bill, the other, that section from Rose to Prentice, that have been done with that money. So we both don't need to be doing it. You know, so if it's in the bond that INS is doing, that section of Gallatin Street, maybe give them the plans that the city's already paid for, modernization tax, to use that. Speaking for myself, and I want to speak for Ted Upworth, because he was the one that brought it up a long time ago, trying to get rid of that one-way direction in there from Gallatin to Rose is something that needs to be done. Now again, what else they include, water and sewer, maybe not, we don't need that. Yeah, I know, I'm just saying, and I don't want to put all bells and whistles we put out there on those ends, but just getting that section done, yeah, probably should. I'd like to see it divided into 2 projects rather than 1, and get that information.
All I was going to say is, I have to leave. This is great strides towards seeing something really, really helpful, and I appreciate the work that everybody's doing. I'm not doing anything, every time, so I'm just glad to hear, some progress on this. So look forward to it. Hope I didn't mess anybody up with me leaving.
So we only have 3 projects that.
I know, but I have to be somewhere at 4 o'clock, and we could be here for another hour right now. That's right.
I hope not. This is all the new NPO projects.
Can we spend a minute on each of these? Because I've got to go here.
Yeah, I'd like to see West Capitol divided into 2 projects, and everything that's down there in the section of Garden Finish is not part of this one too. To make your amendment, that's modernization, it's not our play.
Yeah.
The next ones, the next 3 actually are new NPO projects that were approved Just, the city selected Pickering to the Dixon Bridge and McClure Road Bridge replacement. I went back and actually looked at the estimates. The estimates for the construction actually are currently good. So I feel good about it. And Terry actually had a discussion with Robert, and we got actually copies of the actual estimates to review for all three projects. And also, he included 15% contingencies in the construction as well.
He included it in all the before the road, so.
So is that NPO 8020?
You're correct, but the design is actually not included in the application. The rest of it is 80/20 and up to the federal amount. So for Dixon is 1.2 million, for McClure is 1.1 million, and for all the overlay of railroads,
The
2.7.
question to me is why we're not putting the design in at 820, when we did back on these others up here. I know that's not your answer, but I want to find an answer to that, ask Robert, ask somebody. My question about these, I will say this, let's get out of here. These three, the commission never had heard about until they got told these had been applied for and got. I don't know anything about either one of those three projects.
December of 2023.
Yes, but Robert Lee applied for them and came and told us about that. All the rest of the MPO projects, we had input into before they applied for them.
Well, I don't know, I talked to Robert, he said that he,
I will show you in the minutes, they don't show up until after we got them approved. He came back and told us what he applied for. But we didn't have a meeting in October that year. September, he said they were going to have a call for it, we didn't have that meeting, and then all of a sudden, and I'm not saying I'm against them, I don't know anything about the Dixon Road or McClure Road bridges. I don't know.
I know that we haven't gotten 100% approval on the NPOs that we applied for in the past. So there must have been good reason for us to get approved.
There's a rating on them. I mean, like Paul just said, they don't rate the need. They rate bridge condition, traffic, or whatever. These might be fine needed. Look, everything on McDowell Road that ain't already done is in bad shape. I know that. I just don't know anything about the two bridges. Instead of just been said, but you said a while ago, why didn't you ask those questions before you hired the engineer? I want to ask the question now before we hired the engineer. But that's exactly what you said, that should have been asked 2 years ago.
That is a 20 match, that's our 20 to their 80.
Yeah,
On the construction.
on the construction and CNI, but it's not with the design. So design is
And in general, every time we get it, except not for the,
Less than 10%.
yeah, but not for like on the State Street, which is our 20 against the 80, except our 20 turns into 50.
Well, I mean, how do we lock in the 80/20?
Well, they use good estimates when we go into them. Yeah, and does that bridge need to be replaced? That's my question. Where, do you know where this road is?
I don't, but I mean, if I would assume, maybe you shouldn't assume, but someone is selecting these NPOs.
Just like they selected Greenwood Bridge. The city sent it in, MPO approved it, we all went out there, looked at it and said, what the hell are we doing this for? Yeah, I mean, Paul knows more about the MPO than I do. He says they don't look at the need. All I'm saying is,
well, they don't go out and investigate
they
the
don't
bridge, they don't go out and do that, but, I mean, I think, well, if they're rated on the, you know, if the state's rated them, and they've got a low rating, then you look at that.
I understand that, and I'm not saying I'm against it, but I want to do exactly what you said a while ago, we should have been asking 2 years ago, before we went to spend much money on engineering. Why is it important? One reason, Mike, I agree with you, and it's in our master plan. If we can get that kind of matching funds, that raises the priority, and I agree with that. As long as that estimate stays somewhere reasonable, you know.
I mean, the estimates for those three projects are current and.
They are current.
And I agree with them, actually.
Okay, they're current. And does it take a year or 3 years before we get them under construction? I mean, would they be current by the time we get, I mean, look, when we did the Colonial Circle Bridge, which is the RDR, the city took bids for it, $525,000. They didn't have any money for it, they didn't come and ask us for it. And 3 months later, they just canceled this. A year later, they applied for ERBR funds. A year later, this was in 2023, all that inflation. They applied for what the bid was 2 years earlier, and it cost $690,000, because they didn't update the estimates of what they were doing. Poor management.
So
I'm just saying, probably
these
did
prices,
right.
these estimates are going to go up, so that's going to change the percentage. So
Yeah, but they'll change some, and he tells me we got a 15% contingency, that's what it's got to
if we can stretch it all,
I basically, first off, if I know where this would be, but second off, come back in 2 weeks and tell us something about the bridge.
that'd be great.
Tell us why we need the bridge, and I know what to do. You know, I just want, I don't want a year from now, somebody else was up in your place, say, why did you have that? Which is what you just said.
I'm gonna ask another question before you identify. The Delaware Road, again, this is the resurfacing, this is an area really actually badly needed.
Do we happen, don't we have another one going on at Dow Road? We're not the one down here by the UPS, but then there's another section of Dow Road underway. I mean, I'm trying to figure out
There's
this.
some Randy Road.
Highway 18, right?
Highway 200. We've been doing sections of Dow Road ever since I've been here. We're just trying to see.
This is a section of it, and this other section.
This is further west.
This is further west.
This is going way out the end further west.
Not where he ends, it's from Highway 18 coming to Raymond Road in front of the school.
That's the current.
That's one that's on the sheet.
Okay.
I knew that I was at it.
And that's on the,
Yeah, yes.
So again, this is
One
phase
finish.
2 of the road.
Yeah,
2.7 million,
exactly.
this.
This is the one, Dow Road, Highway 18, Raymond, years ago. And we just did something there.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, appreciate it.
This section there is
Okay.
See y'all in a couple weeks.
Mike, Dave Parker, I was impressed with all the stuff in St. Andrews when I saw it.
Oh, good, thanks.
I know you got a little bit of vested interest in it,
Yeah.
but it's pretty impressive. I know we'll be groundbreaking. May Day.
Good, there we go.
Yeah. I'm not gonna be there for groundbreaking before we get groundbreaking.
So what do you all need in addition to this for the next meeting, other than the wise for the bridges?
The wise, let me clarify something. Not wise for any project, but some of them are a lot easier to know. Bridges are harder to know than. We can all drive down State Street and know where it is. Dixon Road, I do know that bridge, because very tight back, I know where it is. You know where Housing pretty wise to it. But bridges, yes, wise for another reason, whatever. The value of the current, the valuation of the estimates, I mean, maybe highlight if it's current or other, just to highlight the estimate. That's what I need. This originates Paul's conversation